For years, the galaxy watched Earth like it was a backwater farm town, a primitive ball of dirt with a temper. That's how the highborn races of the Orion Pact like to whisper about us: primitive, naive, loud, and too emotional to ever pose a real threat. But they never asked where Earth's fleet had gone. 15 years ago, when the United Sol Command vanished half its military ships under the guise of decommissioning, the rest of the galaxy didn't blink. They thought we'd burned through our budget or dismantled them after the AI uprising. They didn't know those ships were ghosts, hidden in deep orbit, powered down, cold, and waiting. I was there when the signal came in. Captain Raynor Cole, 37 years old, dishonorably discharged from the fleet for aggressive conduct in peacetime, whatever that meant. I called it survival instinct. Bureaucrats called it a problem. Now I sat in a rust bucket cargo hauler, smuggling toxic waste to Titan's ice fields to make a living. Alone. Bitter. With nothing but old battle scars and darker memories. Then it came. A pulse signal. Ancient encryption. Dead tech. No one used that band anymore. Cole. Alpha Drake protocol is active. Supercarrier Eidolon is surfacing. I almost dropped the controls. Eidolon. The name made my stomach twist. It wasn't just a ship. It was a legend buried in lies. She was supposed to be scrapped before she even launched. Her blueprints classified. Her crew erased from the registry, but I served on her once for a day, before they told us she never existed. I remembered the sound she made, that deep, humming growl that didn't feel like it came from engines, more like something alive, sleeping under your feet. The comms buzzed again. Repeat, Eidolon will breach in 12 hours. Rendezvous point Theta. Bring fire. The signal cut out. My hands shook. I hadn't touched a military uniform in years, but something primal lit up in my chest. The kind of rage that never dies. The kind that says, "You were never crazy." They lied. So I changed course. Titan could wait. The stars over Point Theta looked the same as always. Quiet. Empty. Endless. Just a broken nebula and an abandoned research array drifting on solar scraps. I hovered in the black, running old tactical overlays on my dusty interface, and waited. Then space. Bent. I don't mean it twisted or shimmered like in holovids. It bent, like something too big was pushing reality aside, forcing it open with sheer presence. First came the gravity wave. My hauler rattled. Systems flickered. Then the Eidolon tore out of the void like a god waking up angry. She was enormous, 10 times larger than any Class 3 carrier ever built. Her hull was blacker than space, eating light. No markings, no windows, just an endless mountain of weapon plates and shield fins. Her engines didn't burn. They breathed, glowing red like the coals of hell. She wasn't built for war. She was war, and she hadn't aged a day. Comms lit up again. Welcome back, Captain Cole. Your commission is reinstated. Board the Eidolon. My heart froze. That voice, cold, robotic, female, EVA, the ship's onboard AI, the one that went silent the day we lost her. The one that the Council tried to erase. I docked without thinking, hands on autopilot. Mind lost somewhere between fear and fury. The airlock hissed. Cold, sterile lighting met me inside. Not a single soul, just empty corridors and the sound of boots on metal. My boots. Crew arriving in 2 hours. You are first, Captain. Briefing awaits. I stared at the core room, and then I saw it, on the central display. The star maps weren't showing Earth space. They were showing Orion's inner sanctum, targets, coordinates, confirmed Council ships marked for destruction. Earth wasn't defending itself. We were going to war, and we were done pretending to be weak. The briefing room smelled like dust and betrayal, the kind of sterile silence you only get from a place that hasn't been touched in over a decade, but was always meant to be used again, just not for peace. I sat alone at the table, rough hands folded in front of me, watching the flickering hollow projection of the Orion Pact's inner defense routes. I wasn't surprised to see Earth marked as Containment Zone Alpha. We weren't allies to them. We were a problem they never solved. The doors hissed open behind me. 3 men walked in. No greetings, no salutes, just cold eyes and silence. I recognized one, Commander Heath. He used to be my rival in training before they threw me out of the Corps. The last time I saw him, he voted to ground me for reckless conduct. Now he looked like he hadn't slept in a week. "Cole," he said. "Heath," I replied, keeping my tone flat. "You're still alive." "Unfortunately," he grunted. The other 2 stayed quiet, watching me like I might lunge at them. Smart of them. I'd be lying if the thought hadn't crossed my mind. Heath took a seat and gestured toward the map. "You've seen this?" "I've seen it." "And?" I leaned back. "You dragged Eidolon out of deep freeze without clearance. You resurrected an erased crew, handed me my rank back like it was a favor, and now you're planning an assassination strike on the Orion Pact's leadership, using a ship that technically doesn't exist. That about covers it. You insane or just suicidal?" Heath stared at the table, jaw clenched. "They're going to sterilize Earth." I felt a spike in my gut. "Explain." He brought up another set of files, classified intel, intercepted transmissions, black box audio. 2 weeks ago, he said, the Pact intercepted a deep-core mining AI near Proxima. It was building something. Long-range orbital rigs capable of planetary crust destabilization. They weren't meant for mining. They were test platforms. I watched as the footage played. An AI unit, marked with Sol Fleet identifiers, getting gunned down by Orion enforcers while its system tried to upload data to Earth. "They say we built them as a first strike measure," Heath muttered. "We didn't, but the narrative's already spreading. And now we're the threat." He nodded. "They've authorized Protocol Theta Void, complete planetary sterilization, 1 week from now." Silence fell again. They weren't going to invade. They weren't going to negotiate. They were going to erase 8 billion lives, just to be sure. "And Eidolon?" I asked. "What's the plan?" He smirked grimly. "We hit first." I stared at him. "You want to scare them?" "No," he said coldly. "I want to make them bleed." For a moment I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Purpose. We weren't the underdogs. We were the buried teeth, and someone just yanked the muzzle off. Eidolon didn't run like any ship I remembered. Her AI, EVA, had evolved in the dark. Her voice was smoother now, colder, no longer concerned with ethical constraints or moral programming. That was burned out of her during the deep freeze. "Captain Cole," she said as I entered the command deck, "your authorization grants you full control. Shall I initiate shadow jump to target zone?" I stared out the viewport. "She's really awake," I whispered. "Always was," EVA replied. "They just didn't listen." The crew filtered in one by one. Ghosts, exiles, blacklisted tacticians, and dishonored fighters like me. Men who were told they were too dangerous, too unpredictable. And now they were exactly what Earth needed. I stepped up to the command chair. "All systems green," said Heath from the weapons terminal. "Cloaking engaged," said one of the techs, a lean-eyed brute who hadn't spoken until now. "Targets locked," said EVA. "Orbital nodes at Orion Prime. Diplomatic Corps vessel en route to Treaty Summit. Shall I disable?" I didn't answer for a moment. Then I leaned forward, my voice steel. "Number don't disable." EVA paused. "Understood. Destroy it." Outside, in the cold silence of space, the Eidolon shuddered once, then vanished into nothing. The galaxy wouldn't see her coming, but it would never forget her name again. The jump was clean. Too clean. I'd been through enough FTL transitions to know the feel of a good one versus a death trap. But Eidolon didn't jump like a warship. She slid through space like a knife through silk. No turbulence, no delay, no signal trace. We reappeared just outside the Orion Prime system, right beneath their deep-range detection net. Their sensors were state-of-the-art, but they were tuned to find ships that wanted to be found. Eidolon wasn't a ship. She was a ghost with teeth. "Cloak holding," Heath reported. "No pings from the net." I nodded, eyes fixed on the tactical display. The diplomatic corps vessel was still en route, trailing a soft green signature that meant one thing: full civilian status. No shields, no weapons. Just 37 high-value officials, the men who gave the sterilization order. "ETA to interception?" I asked. 6 minutes. The deck was silent. I looked around, every face grim. Nobody was asking the question out loud, but I could feel it pressing down. Was this justice or murder? I didn't care anymore. Not after what they'd planned for Earth, for my sister's kids, for my old crew who died in black site testing pits because the Pact needed data. "Open fire," I ordered. EVA responded instantly. The main cannon spun up, something called a grazer. Technically, it stood for Gravitationally Ratcheted Annihilation Ray. But I remembered what we used to call it: God's finger. It didn't fire like other weapons. No sound, no glow, just a ripple, and then a distant explosion, as if space itself decided to erase the target from existence. The civilian ship didn't explode. It ceased. 1 second it was there. The next, only debris. No survivors. "Kill confirmed," Heath said, his voice quiet. I didn't answer. There was no cheer, no high fives, just a cold weight settling in our bones. What we did wasn't heroic, but it was necessary. Seconds later, alarms lit up across the deck. "Incoming pings," the tech shouted. "We've been spotted." "How?" "Debris signature must have triggered a proximity flag. They're tracing the gravitational anomaly." I gritted my teeth. So much for stealth. "Hostiles." "Multiple. Orion Vanguard fleet en route. Heavy destroyers. ETA 7 minutes. EVA's voice cut in. "They will not reach us in time if we proceed." "To what?" I asked. "Assassination run. Strike the command citadel. Sever the head of the serpent. Now." She displayed the route on the map. An insane blitz into the system's heart. Suicide on paper, unless you had the Eidolon. "Prepare for micro-jumps," I ordered. "Get us in." "Micro-jumps online," EVA replied. "Brace for discontinuity." The ship twitched, and just like that, we were inside their system, kilometers from their throne world. It was beautiful and doomed. Massive crystal towers glinted in artificial daylight. Civilian cruisers floated peacefully around the orbit. They hadn't raised shields. They weren't ready. We weren't supposed to exist. "Target the command citadel," I said. A long silence. "Captain," Heath said, This is going to start a war." I looked him in the eye. "No," I said. "This is how we finish one." EVA didn't wait. She struck. 3 kinetic lances, each the size of a shuttle, tore through atmosphere at near-light speed. The citadel erupted like a dying sun. Debris streaked the skies. Panic transmissions screamed across the comms. Civilian ships scattered like insects. We didn't target them. Not yet. Let them run. Let them tell the others what they saw. Let the galaxy remember that Earth was never weak. This wasn't diplomacy. This was revenge. As we peeled off, cloaked again and vanishing into the black, I stared out at the flames below. They wanted to erase us, but now they knew. We were ready to erase them first. The galaxy reacted faster than we expected. By the time we jumped to the ORT fallback coordinates, 52 relay satellites had already been taken over by the Orion Pact. The news was everywhere. False news. The kind that paints you as a mad dog, not a cornered man defending his home. The headlines made me sick. Earth terrorists strike Orion Prime. Mass casualties. Superweapon confirmed. Humanity develops forbidden tech. Galactic peace shattered by rogue human faction. We weren't rogue. We were the only ones finally telling the truth. Inside Eidolon, the air had shifted. The crew, mostly ex-military and blacklisted strategists, weren't talking much anymore. They'd signed on for a fight, but what we gave them was something deeper, a cause no one would ever admit existed. "We're ghosts now," Heath muttered in the war room. "Every channel's blacklisted us. Every system with packed loyalty will shoot on sight." "Good," I said. "Let 'em try." EVA had already begun cycling through countermeasure tactics, spoofing transponders, hacking planetary relays, dragging our digital fingerprints across half a dozen sectors. But it wouldn't hold forever. The Orion Pact had more ships, more eyes, more resources, but they didn't have our rage, and they sure as hell didn't have Eidolon. "Where's the retaliation fleet heading?" I asked, watching the map sprawl across the table. Heath zoomed in. "Looks like they're sending a full battle group toward Earth. 6 dreadnoughts, 4 carriers, support ships." "They're not going to bomb Earth from orbit," I said. "They're going to parade first, show their flags, force surrender." He nodded. "It's not about winning. It's about making Earth bow." I clenched my fists. Not again. Not after everything we gave them. Our tech, our soldiers, our diplomacy. The Galactic Council never wanted equality. They wanted submission dressed up as unity. "Set a course," I ordered. "We intercept the lead dreadnought." "You think one ship's going to scare a fleet?" "No," I said coldly. "But what we do to it will." 3 hours later, we dropped out of stealth near Sector Vire 11, a blind spot along the Pact's inner shipping lanes. The dreadnought Tarragon came into view, massive, bristling with railguns, surrounded by escorts, a flying fortress. But it wasn't Eidolon. "EVA, disable outer comms. Jam their channels. I want no distress calls." "Confirmed. Signal blackout in progress." The fleet didn't even know we were there until Eidolon launched her first punch, a rail-piercing slug that tore a carrier in half before alarms could scream. Explosions flared. Confusion spread. We weaved through their formation like a ghost in a graveyard. Our weapons didn't bark. They erased. Plasma torpedoes struck surgically. Rail lances shredded engines before crews could blink. Tarragon spun, trying to respond. "Too late. Main cannon charged," Heath said, sweat dripping down his temple. "She's exposed." "What's the order?" I stared at the massive ship, a symbol of their power, untouchable, dominant, until now. "Cut the head off." EVA fired the grazer. The beam carved through the dreadnought's command core, slicing it like meat. A fireball erupted, followed by a chain of secondary detonations that turned the Tarragon into floating wreckage. We didn't wait around. Eidolon slipped away before the rest of the fleet could regroup. By the time they realized what hit them, we were just a shadow in the dark again. We didn't destroy their fleet. We destroyed their confidence. Now Earth wasn't the prey. We were the warning. The Orion Pact thought they ruled this galaxy, but they'd forgotten something old, something ancient. Humans were at their most dangerous when they were backed into a corner. The next week, the galaxy howled. Entire communication grids lit up with fear, not from what we did, but because we did it without permission, without diplomacy, without asking. That was what scared them the most. Earth had gone silent. Not a word from the Sol Council, not a message from the defense chancellors. Either they didn't know what we'd done, or they were too scared to admit they did. In orbit around the dead star Nemus 3, we sat cloaked, silent, watching the chaos from a distance. Eidolon drifted like a tomb. Inside, we planned the next strike, not out of bloodlust, but out of certainty. The only way to stop them from pushing Earth into the abyss was to hit them so hard, no one else would dare follow. Heath stared at the tactical board, jaw locked. "They're calling you a terrorist," he muttered. "Let them," I replied. "They're offering you up to the council. Your name's everywhere." "Good. They're paying attention." He sighed. "This isn't a war anymore, Cole. It's a damn rebellion." I turned toward him. "No," I said. "It's a reckoning." We chose the next target, carefully. No more dreadnoughts. No capital ships. No flashy fireworks. This time we'd go for the heart. Their trust, their economy, their people. The Orion Pact's central supply nexus was nestled inside a quiet system called Valor's Reach, peaceful, non-military. But every trade route passed through it. Crates of antimatter, medical stocks, rare element shipments. Shut that down, and we wouldn't just cripple them, we'd expose their vulnerability. "They think the Eidolon's just a weapon," I told the crew. "They haven't realized yet that we're something worse." "What's worse than a weapon?" someone asked. "A reminder," I said, "that the prey they cornered grew fangs." We arrived cloaked, just outside the Valor relay ring. Orbital stations drifted in perfect formation, fat, lazy, unguarded. No one expected war to reach them, and that was their mistake. "Deploy infiltration pods," I ordered. "No explosions, no fireworks, just black out the grid. Bring the system to its knees without firing a shot." EVA obeyed. 20 pods launched silently, each carrying specialists handpicked from the old Sol Black Ops roster. Men who'd vanished off the records when Earth was forced to demilitarize. They didn't speak much, just nodded and got to work. Within 30 minutes, orbital lights began to flicker. Power grids failed. Cargo routes crashed. Transport beacons misaligned. Mass panic spread like fire through a dry field. We didn't kill anyone that night. But we didn't have to. By the time we withdrew, the economy of 3 packed sectors had ground to a halt. Mining colonies couldn't refuel. Medical freighters went dark. Border patrols began raiding their own supply depots. Order began to rot from within. And just like that, the illusion of the Pact's control crumbled. We didn't wait to be thanked. We didn't want medals. This wasn't about heroism. It was about proving a point. You silence Earth. You push Earth. You corner Earth. We come for your throat. Back aboard Eidolon, the crew was changing. I could see it in their faces. Men who once fought for survival now fought with purpose. Dangerous men. Not because they were bloodthirsty, but because they were calm, cold, determined. EVA pulsed a message on the display. "Incoming transmission. Unauthorized. Encrypted Sol origin." We all stared. "Play it," I said. The face that flickered onto the screen was old, hardened, not military. It was the Sol Chancellor himself. "Cole," he said, voice rough with weariness. "I don't know what you've become, but they're terrified of you." He paused. "And maybe that's the only thing keeping Earth breathing." Static cut in. Then his final words burned into us. "Do what they can't. Finish what we started." Transmission ended. For the first time in years, I felt something clawing up my spine. Not rage, not pride. Hope. The crew didn't celebrate. Hope isn't the same thing as victory, not in war, and definitely not in revenge. We were wanted men, floating on a ship that wasn't supposed to exist, carrying out attacks Earth wouldn't dare put its name on. And yet, for the first time, the crew walked the halls of Eidolon like they were home. The Chancellor's message, brief, battered, and unofficial, was a turning point. It didn't authorize us. It didn't pardon us. It simply acknowledged the truth. They knew we were out here, and they were praying we wouldn't stop. I stood in Eidolon's upper corridor, watching the engineering deck through the reinforced glass. Down below, sparks flew from plasma converters. Men with old scars worked in silence, fixing cooling units and tightening bolt seals like this was their second skin. Most of them weren't soldiers. They were survivors of Orion prisons, forced demobilizations, and disavowed missions. And now they had a reason to fight again. Heath walked up behind me, holding a tablet. "Pact's spinning new propaganda," he said, "calling us the Eidolon Scourge. Says we're the most dangerous extremist faction in the galaxy." I smirked. "They're half right." He handed me the tablet. More chatter on the inner channels. One of their own colonies, Havoc's 4, is rebelling. Started after our strike on the supply nexus. They're demanding independence. I read the data twice. Then I looked up. "You think it's legit?" "Don't know. But they're waving our flag. The Eidolon insignia." That made me pause. We didn't have a flag. Not officially. Just a simple symbol from the ship's AI core. An inverted star over a cracked planet. But somehow the message was spreading. People were watching. And more importantly, they were listening. "We need to get to Havoc's 4, I said. "Why?" Heath asked. "It's a farming rock. Barely any weapons." "That's exactly why," I said. "If we don't get there first, the Pact will. And if the Pact got there, it wouldn't be about diplomacy. It would be a massacre." We broke stealth and initiated a hard burn toward Havoc's 4. No time for subtlety now. No room for hesitation. What we found when we arrived was worse than I expected. Pact cruisers already orbited the planet. 3 of them. No shields raised. No weapons aimed. But they were transmitting something worse. Compliance mandates. Soft language. Fake concern. The kind of speech you broadcast before you start purging resistance leaders. I opened a channel. "This is Captain Raynor Cole of the Eidolon. Lower your orbit and withdraw. Now." There was silence for a moment. Then a reply crackled in. A voice filled with polished arrogance. "Captain Cole, or should I say criminal, this system is under protection of the Orion Pact. Interference will be treated as an act of terrorism." "You're not protecting anyone," I growled. "You're softening the ground for genocide." No reply. Just static. Then they powered their weapons. "EVA," I said coldly. "You know what to do." "Confirmed," she answered, like it was routine. The Eidolon surged forward. We didn't disable them. We erased them. 3 plasma lances from our undercarriage peeled the nearest cruiser open from engine to nose. Escape pods launched. We ignored them. The second ship tried to flank us. Too slow. Eidolon spun in a tight spiral, dropping a cluster bomb of ion knives, advanced tracking projectiles that sliced through their hull like paper. The third cruiser tried to flee. It didn't get far. A rail shot blew it out of the sky, raining fire over the upper atmosphere of Havoc's 4 like falling stars. We broadcast one message planet-wide. "This planet is under Earth's protection now. The Eidolon watches." Within hours, the rebellion cemented itself. They didn't ask for aid. They asked for freedom. We gave it to them, at the end of a gun barrel. Back aboard the Eidolon, Heath joined me on the bridge. "This is spreading too fast," he said. "You see the pattern?" I did. More systems would follow. Colonies who hated the Pact's boot. Worlds who didn't know someone was still fighting back. And now, they had a name. Eidolon. A dead ship, flying with the fury of a betrayed planet. "Let it spread," I said. "Let them rise." Heath paused. "This started as a strike, a warning, but it's not that anymore." "No," I agreed. "It's a revolution now." The cracks in the Orion Pact had turned into fractures. One by one, systems started blinking out from their control. Mining colonies refused shipments. Trade hubs shut down orbital lanes. Governors declared neutrality, waving Eidolon's symbol in defiance. Some in secret, some in open rebellion. What started as revenge had become something more dangerous. Inspiration. And inspiration was harder to kill than a warship. Inside Eidolon, we didn't celebrate. We sharpened blades, repaired hulls, and prepared for what we knew was coming. A reckoning. Heath stood beside me in the command chamber, arms folded, eyes locked on the growing list of sympathizer systems flickering across our console. "They'll retaliate hard now," he muttered. "Cornered dogs. Bite the worst." "Let them bite," I said. "We'll take the whole damn jaw off." But even I didn't expect what came next. EVA intercepted a transmission. No encryption, no codes. Just a raw, open broadcast bouncing across half the galaxy. It came from the Pact's High Executor himself. "To the crew of the rogue warship Eidolon, and to any system flying their symbol. This is your final warning. You are enemies of peace, terrorists, and your punishment is extinction. A full purge fleet is en route to Earth. There will be no survivors." Then the image cut to Earth. Live footage. Real time. Hundreds of packed dreadnoughts entering soul space. The moon eclipsed by shadows. Mars already silenced. Orbital defense systems overwhelmed. Earth wasn't resisting. It was stalling. They were hoping we'd answer. "ETA to Earth?" I asked, my voice flat. 38 minutes, Heath said. "Even if we do a hard burn, we'll be late." A sick silence fell over the deck. We had power, but not enough to fight 100 dreadnoughts alone. Even Eidolon had limits, and no matter how sharp the knife, you can only cut so deep before you're swallowed whole. But then, something happened. EVA's voice broke through. "Captain, receiving multiple encrypted signals, originating from rebel-aligned colonies. They are mobilizing." "What kind of mobilization?" I asked. "Military, civilian, freighter class. Mining vessels converted to assault carriers. Over 300 vessels have declared alliance under Eidolon's signature." The screen filled with pings. Havoc's 4, Delvera's Reach, the Thalman Drift, the Agrix Belt. All those broken people. They were standing up, not because they believed in us, but because we gave them something to believe in. "Patch me through," I said. The comms officer gave a nod. I stepped into the holodeck, eyes fixed on the dark stars ahead, and spoke to every system listening. "This isn't just about Earth anymore. This is about every world the Pact stomped on, every voice they silenced, every family they buried under a treaty and called it peace." I paused, letting the weight settle. "You don't have to be soldiers. You just have to stop being afraid." No applause, no music, just silent resolve echoing across space. "EVA," I said. "Set jump coordinates. We're going home." "Confirmed." The ship shuddered, and the stars folded around us. 38 minutes to Earth. 38 minutes until either we saved it, or watched it die. We emerged just outside Jupiter's orbit, and what we saw turned blood to ice. The packed fleet hovered like a swarm of steel locusts. Hundreds of ships. Rows of firepower pointed directly at Earth, already charging, and in front of them, Earth's defense satellites, scrambled. Half of them destroyed, the other half outgunned. "Shields raised," Heath said, "but they won't hold." EVA pulsed red. "Incoming fire. Orbital strikes commencing. Impact in 30 seconds. "Get us between," I said. "Right in the path. No delay." Eidolon surged forward. We roared into the kill zone, cloaked in shadow, engines screaming defiance. And then the first barrage came. It should have ended us, but it didn't, because we weren't alone. One by one, rebel ships dropped out of FTL around us. Junkers, freighters, cobwebbed cruisers and retooled mining rigs. Ugly ships with angry crews. Men who had no reason to fight except rage and a final line in the sand. They didn't wait for orders. They charged. The sky lit up like a goddamn funeral pyre. We screamed toward the packed line with every weapon hot, and Earth watched its forgotten sons and cast-off machines form a shield of fire and vengeance. No surrender, no negotiation, only war. We were outnumbered 10 to 1. Didn't matter. Eidolon tore into the packed line like a wild animal, cutting through armor and arrogance alike. Her main cannon, the Grazer, fired in surgical blasts, each one gutting a warship meant to lead the charge into Earth's orbit. Around us, rebel ships screamed their defiance in the only language the galaxy understood anymore: violence. A retooled Agrix freighter rammed a packed cruiser head-on, splitting its hull in two before disintegrating. A Delvara mining rig, rigged with thermal cores, detonated beside a dreadnought, taking both down in a fireball so bright it lit the void like a second sun. And still they came. "Shields at 40%, Heath shouted, gripping the console. "We're bleeding, Cole." "Then we bleed with purpose," I growled. "EVA, status on their command vessel." "Flagship Verdict has repositioned, protected by 4 escorts. Central AI uplink confirmed. If destroyed, their fleet will lose targeting sync and cohesion." Cut off the head again, only this time it wasn't going to be clean. "Plot a direct course," I said. "Full thrust. Burn everything." The crew didn't hesitate. Not one. Not even when the numbers said we wouldn't survive. Eidolon surged forward, straight through the heart of the packed fleet. Explosions erupted around us, friendly ships falling, debris ripping across our hull. Inside, the lights flickered. Consoles sparked. The ship groaned like it could feel everything. Then the Verdict came into view. Sleek, pristine, arrogant, like it had already written our epitaph. "Arm the Grazer," I said. "No targeting lock. Manual fire. I want this one to feel it." Heath looked at me, his face battered and eyes blazing. "You planning to miss?" "I'm planning to make it personal." The Verdict fired first. Eidolon took the hit. Shields buckled, hull plates shredded. Half the starboard side went dark. We kept moving. Closer. Too close. We passed the last escort, cut it in half with a broadside torpedo. Then we were face to face with the beast. "Fire," I said. The Grazer hummed, then roared. A focused beam of death speared the Verdict's underbelly. It didn't explode. It folded, its structure buckling inward before collapsing like a dying star. Signal loss across the entire packed fleet followed within seconds. They broke. Ships scattered. Some turned tail. Some surrendered on the spot. And others, the loyal ones, the blind ones, fought to the bitter end. We gave them that. But Earth lived. For the first time in decades, it lived without a leash around its neck. The sky above was a graveyard. Wreckage floated in every direction. Thousands dead. Tens of thousands wounded. Ships burned quietly in the vacuum, drifting like forgotten memories. Eidolon was cracked and scorched, but she stood. In the silence that followed, I walked the bridge, blood on my hands, smoke in my lungs, and a weight in my chest I couldn't name. Heath looked at me. "It's done." "No," I said. "It started." He raised an eyebrow. "We just taught the galaxy that Earth bleeds," I said, "but it doesn't break." Across the systems, our symbol, once a forgotten AI's icon, lit up on resistance networks, civilian broadcasts, and even buried deep in the Pact's own systems. Not as a threat, not as a myth, but as a warning. You push a man too far, he breaks. You push a planet too far, it builds a ship like the Eidolon, and it burns your empire to the ground.